It was one of those sleeps where you just kind of hit the pillow, fall asleep, and then up. But I'm tired. I feel a little draggy. So what are you gonna do? All right. So this week, let's just pick up right where kind of we left off, and that's implicit bias. Yesterday, I talked about how the realm of implicit bias offers opportunity. So gratitude is something that you can actually use in the context of implicit bias to shift yourself and shift others. And that's kind of that's a weakness of implicit bias. It's that it exists automatically, and because it does exist automatically, it has vulnerabilities that can be exploited. And the main vulnerability that exploits it is open-heartedness. I mean, open-heartedness crushes implicit bias because the fact that it exists means that our beings mirror, model, kind of create kind of quick connections to other aspects of the human experience. And one of the most powerful things, arguably the most powerful thing in the human experience, is the capacity for open-heartedness. And open-heartedness is love. So where does love fit in with implicit bias? Well, I think the key to think about love is that love is without past, without future. Love is simply existing in an open-hearted space. And I often associate love with God. And if you kind of put the two together, they have characteristics. There are characteristics that can be kind of fleshed out. But I think the first aspect of love that's worth fleshing out is that it exists in the moment. It's not something that is a memory or something that is an expectation. It is a in the moment experience, and it has power. Love has tremendous power, which is yesterday's topic of what open-heartedness does. But love has tremendous power, and part of the reason it has tremendous power is because it facilitates growth and facilitates community and facilitates complexity and interaction without needing anything in return. It is the ultimate source of kind of continuing life. Implicit bias is what it means to be alive and be inside of a life that's hard to predict and hard to navigate. And so what implicit bias does is it kind of streamlines certain things based on kind of learning, right? So that's the mind. The mind learns, the mind remembers, and the mind projects. Okay, so the mind is very much a keeper of time, a maker of time, a saver of time, a planner, et cetera, et cetera. The heart, the present moment. The present moment is indifferent. The present moment is indifferent to the memories you bring or the expectations you bring, in so much as the present moment is always here. It's always the present moment. And so what you're bringing to the present moment and what you expect from the present moment only dictates how you experience the present moment, not the present moment. It only dictates how you would experience the present moment, not the present moment. And so what love does is love sets up this framework for the present moment that is without need for biases to be met. There's no, it's not necessary. And so I often associate Thursday and love with God. And the reason I do so is because God is not in the past, or God is not in the future. God is the ever present now. And the ever present now without implicit bias is a present moment that holds all existence, all aspects of experience, um, in love, all things. And I think the basic message, arguably, of Jesus, whose story personified the love of God, is that in all moments, for all time, love is the answer to whatever shows up. And it's not rollover love. It's not oh, I love you, do whatever you want to me. There's more power in the full experience with love than we understand. And what I think the story of Jesus tries to portray is that even in your darkest hour, even in the darkest aspects of the human experience, love will triumph. And I guess, and it's worth noting that love will triumph over time. In that, it's a permanent fixture. And while you could argue that implicit biases are a permanent fixture for the human experience, that is quickly and brilliantly and fluidly and easily just kind of overcome with an open heart. And so as we go further into the kind of world that is kind of breaking apart or breaking through all around us, there's something to be said about the fact that of all the things that you could bring to the table, love is the most powerful one. You'd say, well, what about violence, or preparing for violence or danger, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Well, I mean, that's kind of the problem with implicit bias. Right? The fundamental issue with implicit bias is it frames the world a particular way, and the problem with that is that it kind of positions the human being who imposes the implicit bias as the arbiter of kind of good and bad, and that's not really the case, right? That's more ego. That's more the human ego that's doing that than it is kind of existence itself, and that's kind of God's domain. I think part of the reason why God is there is God humbles the human. And to humble oneself is really smart on like a strategic level. Largely because if you're humble and you don't go into something with implicit bias, you're more ready to open your heart. And the more ready you are to open your heart, the faster you would probably see, the faster you have the chance to see all the stuff that kind of is there, and all the hints and all the openings to get that open heart out in front of whomever is in the situation with you, or whatever challenging situation you're in, and get them to open their heart. And when that happens, there's a tremendous release. I mean, you've seen it on TV with the protesters and the police force. You've seen it when these protesters and the police, they kind of meet, right? They meet in this moment of escalation. And there's this energetic exchange in some form or fashion, and then there's the taking of a knee or a hug, and you feel it right away. It's just this kind of like, poof, it just opens, and you're just like, wow, that was powerful. That was really, really powerful. And you've seen that a lot. And that, I mean, oh gosh, if that doesn't give you hope for America, nothing will. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox and we'll get to the training, but just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind, that there's this inherent weakness to implicit bias that is kind of covered up by this sense of preparedness, right? That one is more. The central nervous system isn't wise. The central nervous system is just smart. So the central nervous system is what supports what supports implicit bias. But you're the awareness, you're the wisdom, you're the chooser, right? And just because the implicit bias is there has nothing to do with whether or not it's actually effective. And so what your job now as kind of an American is to figure out what's effective. And what's always been effective, and it will always be effective, is an open-hearted positioning inside of any situation. If you can get to an open heart position, whatever shows up, because what implicit bias is doing is trying to protect you, right? It's using me to protect you. What open-heartedness or love is doing is using this to protect you. And what this does is this connects to here. And when these two are kind of in line, there's flow. Kind of like this picture, right? Right? So you go from, the ape. What am I doing here? You go from the ape to man, and then to Aikido, right? Which is this circle, right? It's this circle. It's power, right? You've imposed your will, but it's circular. It's not harmful so much as it is kind of engaged in a kind of a flowy kind of way. So anyway. Let's move on, because intellectually, right, what I'm saying may make a lot of sense, but in the moment of challenge, that requires training, and that's really, really important to get to is you've got to train to choose. You got to train to choose to be open-hearted. You can't think and hope. Because if you just think and hope, what happens inside the moment is too big. The moment's too big, your heart closes down, you go to the meat, and then you escalate. And that happens to everybody. But with training, it doesn't. So start to slow down. Got a little sound in there. First bell. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Slow down. Slow down how fast you shift your attention from one thing to another. And then just focus on one. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Just one of your senses. What's curious about that sense? For your sense of sight, maybe it's light and shadow in the room or the light and shadow behind your eyelids. Your sense of sound, you just listen to sounds of silence. And if little sounds pop up inside of silence, just kind of notice where sounds come from and where they return to. Sense of smell. Paid all your attention to sense of smell, what would you notice? What's there? Touch. Are there different feelings of temperature around your body? Taste. What's your mouth taste like? Second bell coming up. Get to the body. First, the ground. What do you feel beneath you? And what parts of your body feel it? Bottoms of the feet, rear end, backs of the legs, sides of the legs. Pelvis. Base of the spine. Ping the pelvis. Maybe there's an urge to move a little bit, shift a little bit. Maybe everything feels just right. Core. Fabric of clothing around core. Sides, lumbar spine, belly button. Soften core. Heart space. Let your shoulder blades spread out on the backside. Let the bottom ribs spread out on either side. Let the collarbones open in the front. Throat space. Soften the tongue. Let the tongue sink. Let the jaw soften. Feel the throat. Maybe see if you can feel air moving up and down in the throat. Top of the head. Face. Soften between the eyes. Soften around the nose. Soften the muscles of the mouth and the chin. Breathe that all together fully with a full inhale as we move into third bell. Breathe in through the nose. Out through the mouth. In through the mouth. Out through the nose. In through the nose quick. Out through the mouth slow. Really slow. Just the smallest amount of air. Just slowly leaving from the mouth. Inhale mouth quickly. Slowly leave the nose. Exhale slow, slow, slow from the nose. Now inhale quickly through the nose. Pause at the top, breathe in some more. Pause at the top, breathe in some more. Pause at the top, breathe in some more. Pause at the top, breathe in some more, and slowly out of the mouth. Real slow. First the lips. Feel the body moving as you exhale super slow. Try that again on your own pace. On your own pace, breathe all the way into the top. Get all the way to the top of your breath. Really try to jam air in there. And then super slow, let it out of the mouth. And feel the way the body kind of settles. Just a tiny bit at a time. So when you're ready, breathe in fast with the nose. Breathe in some more. Breathe in some more. Breathe in some more. And with the mouth, super slow, let it out. Feel the body. Stillness. Meditate for 1 minute. Here comes fourth bell. So every morning we do the same thing with different topics. We practice the skill set of becoming present focused through the senses. We practice the skill set of deepening our present focus by going through the sensations of the alignment of the body, get to the body. 3, we work with the breath. And then 4, the fourth bell is the rest of life, right? So we're taking this practice to our lives. And the reason why that's such an important thing is because we have a lot of challenges that we are kind of experiencing right now. And there are feelings, I guess, and ideas about kind of moving to the past, going back to the past, or getting back to the past, or, this sense of like, in the past it was this. And then there's this other sense, this other pull of, well, the future needs to be this. The future needs to be this. Well, in between that time, in between these kind of polarities, is you and the rest of your life. Implicit bias, by its very nature, is something that's based off of the past and has expectations for the future. The problem with implicit bias is that it tries to take a shortcut, and it tries to kind of get to this place based on what you remember or what you imagine. And to use that, what you remember and what you imagine, as the arbiter of truth and the way forward is hubris. That you would know, or that the what you listen to would know the right way, is hubris. So, fortunately, the practices implicit to mindfulness offer not a fixer or a this will make everything better, but an opportunity to participate in how the past flows through you and how the future evolves around you. And that's why we train. We train because there's a choice to be had inside the flowing of human experience through you. There's a choice to be had. And not to take that choice is a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity. To take the choice means to participate, and to participate now means to participate in the unfolding of our nation as it evolves. So I encourage you to think about that as you kind of move into your day. How are you going to participate with the present moment in an open-hearted way? It's a big deal. What you bring to the table is a huge deal. What your memories bring to the table and what your expectations about the future bring to the table, it's not as big a deal. That's less valuable than what you bring to the table fully present with an open heart. That arguably is divine. So I'd love to hear about what you're bringing to the table today, what your intention is for today. Share in the comments. See you tomorrow, and I hope you have a great day, Armor Down. It's my honor to sit with you.